on with the part. Okay, here we go. Let me kill the music and say greetings and stop my screen share. And then I'm going to spotlight me and Tim. Are you ready, Tim, for us to do this?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right, welcome. I am Joel, and today is what? Thursday, September the 30th. This is the weekly briefing. It's that time during the week where we stop and take about 30 minutes to share the latest news, a trend, something that happened, a hot button issue. But Tim, what we're doing today is, I think, answering a question that we get routinely, and we've been hearing more and more lately, people saying, okay, I didn't know that RevThink even did that. I didn't know you guys were helping in that area. And we realized maybe we should just do an overview of all the stuff that we're doing to help people that are here. And I think that's was that the genesis of this presentation?
Yeah, I think we've honestly added so many new community members that the conversation was happening more frequently on a one-on-one basis that we thought, let's just do an overview and maybe even catch up people that are, former members of an accelerator, but that did not understand what a one-on-one engagement is or what have you. Just fill in some blanks for people, see what's helpful to you. And this is just us kind of explaining what we have going on there. But we're always open for our conversation to actually get into the details of what you're processing and see if there's a fit for us.
Well, I was kind of blown away. I've been working on an article that goes back some years into the past, and I was looking back to 6-7 years ago, right, when my journey and your journey got very intertwined. And I was thinking back to what RevThink was like back in 2014. And it might actually be interesting for you to quickly tell folks here, where did the very first idea for what RevThink is today, where did that come from? Where did it start?
That's a great question. As many of you might know, I was a producer at Imaginary Forces and became head of operations there in my tenure there. So I was one of the founding members of that group of people. Through the idea of operations, I realized I think about things differently than people that are doing the production or directing or animating side of it. I kind of like the business side and some of the more complicated questions that people don't often focus on. So that became my curiosity. When I moved on from there, I ended up working for Trailer Park. And at Trailer Park, we grew from 40 people to 400 people. And the idea of systems and routines started falling into place for me because this was a complicated machine that was growing and growing. And I had to kind of keep up with it. I was writing some software for them at the time. I was consulting them at the time. And when I walked away from Trailer Park, I thought to myself, I think I could do this for a living. And I called you basically call family and friends anytime you start something. So I called my friends in the industry that own production companies. And I just started asking, what issues do you deal with that I can help with? And one of my first clients in that routine was the group Roger. And when I started working with Roger is where really the production roll-up, cash flow, those kind of visible systems that people need to make decisions in order to run the business came from, that I really started building this idea of specific systems and routines that were repeatable client by client by client. And it just ballooned from there. Joel, you were one of my clients at one point, and you were one of the clients that I had to work with to help you not hate me so much because I was thinking differently, and you didn't want to believe me at first. But there is some really easy ways of processing and doing what you do well and letting go of the stuff that isn't what creative entrepreneurs want to focus on. So I think that intrigued you and I to kind of work together. So when the opportunity came, obviously, we've been repeating that over and over again and scaling some of those services for people.
Well, I have to give a shout out to my former business partner, Steve Urbano. I see him here in the list. Hey, Steve, what's up, dude?
Hey.
What I'll tell you is it's a common story, Tim, that you talk about when the owners at Roger, ask you a simple question. I'm looking at my P&L and I said, I made all this profit. Where did all my money go? Because it's not sitting in my bank account. And just that question alone, I'm like, I know my partner and I ask that question all the time. It says we made $1 million in profit. Do you have it? Because I don't,
Yeah.
I don't have it. What's going on? So,
and my answer to them at the time was the same. You guys I don't know where it goes. I had no idea the difference between a P&L and a cash flow and a balance sheet. I felt like balance sheet was a thing we were always just throwing away. Like, okay, then there's this piece of paper. But to know that these mechanisms work together to gain control and to create visibility into your business. So to retranslate them into the factors method, so you can almost see your P&L, your balance sheet, your cash flow, just by looking at your production rollup, just looking at a few columns in our production rollup, and all of the impact of those other reports can come into the forefront. Like that's the tipping point for RevThink and what separates us from the other consultants.
So for everyone's benefit here, Tim, when you and I started working together and we said, well, you kind of called me into a really exciting story, I think, when you said, hey, I think we can go help the entire industry, right? Not just help a few clients like RevThink had in those days, but we might be able to help everybody. And we started developing a framework. And the framework was the 7 ingredients that most people here know. And that was, we said, to run a successful business, you really have to master all these 7 areas. And I'm going to see if I can name them off: creative, production, marketing, sales, finance, operations, and entrepreneurship. And the insight was, clearly, if you fail in any one of these ingredients, you probably fail as a business. But if you master each of these things, you're going to move from this journey of emerging to thriving and to mature. And we said, gosh, each of these ingredients is like a little school unto itself. And you were so big on the finance piece, the production piece, the operations piece. And of course, I was very passionate about sales and about marketing and some other items. And that ultimately has led to now what we thought we can share today with folks, like, hey, here's kind of a look at what RevThink is, all these different offerings and things that we do to help in those different ways. But tell us what you're sharing here. This is funny.
Yeah, this is actually the discovery of the 7 ingredients and what it looked like. This doesn't make any sense to anybody, I think, besides the 5 people in the room that day. But we were really just writing out all the issues that entrepreneurs have and trying to map them. How are they related, and drawing lines between them. And that's what that spaghetti mess is in the middle. But on the left-hand side, you can see our very, very beginning of defining these 7 ingredients and really what that work might look like. And at this point, I think if you remember right, we were actually trying to define what are the 3 a.m. issues where the entrepreneur would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and panic. Could we get that concern out in front of them so that we could deal with it proactively? That was our assignment when we discovered the 7 ingredients.
So to that end, here I'm gonna share my screen because there's some overall concepts that then sort of lead us into all the things that we've got going on. I don't want to belabor the point too much. So in my screen here, I thought it would be nice, Tim, just to remind everyone this. And by the way, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is the journey, right, that we're all on when you're running a creative firm, and you're launching and you're in the startup mode, and then you go through these seasons where you are emerging, you're thriving, and you're mature. And this journey is essentially like your evolution through those ingredients as you master those various ingredients. And they do have a certain order to it. And then one day, of course, you exit, whether you like it or not, that day will come. But this is ultimately, at RevThink, I would say our mission is like, hey, we want to help creative entrepreneurs thrive in business and in life and in their careers. This is that journey in a nutshell. But now, Tim, if I take, you see the three on the right: emerging, thriving, and mature. Watch this. This is really cool. Ooh. So what we realized was that if you're in these different seasons, that there are different needs. And this is, in effect, the 3 buckets that, Tim, you and I've been working on with our team to meet the needs for people that are in these emerging stages, when they're in these thriving stages, in the mature seasons. And of course, these don't line up exactly, but it's a nice way to think of them. But the 3 big buckets, what are they?
Yeah, the first one obviously is communities. And what that is just recognizing that you shouldn't do this alone, right? There are other people processing what's going on. And even to listen to others, hear what others have going on, and some of those future problems you have, that's the beginning of you going from just an individual person running a business to be an influencer in your community and start working through and participating in some of the bigger ideas.
And let me see if I have this queued up right. Oh, good. Okay, good. I want to make sure I have the actual list of like, what are the things that we're doing, working on, offering for people that are seeking community. And I'll let you grab the first one, Tim.
Yeah, RevCommunity. You probably all know RevCommunity because that might be the portal you just came into this weekly briefing into. And that's for all of you, it's a community of business owners just like yourself, and a platform that you can have conversations where we put our resources out there and other resources we know that work very well out there, so that you can be attached, understand what's going on, and kind of get the inside scoop of trends and needs that are happening. And it begins, like I said before, just breaking you out of that bubble of being a solopreneur and getting into really some of the bigger issues and bigger opportunities to running your own business.
Yeah, perspective is definitely a big benefit of getting outside your bubble, outside your own echo chamber. The second thing is Qohort. So Eric, I saw your question asking, what the heck is Qohort? Qohort is, there's this idea that because industry leaders should talk to each other, that we organize regular gatherings of owners around a table. And so this is most often a dinner, a happy hour. It's some sort of an in-person event. And these are invitation only. So it's generally myself or Tim or someone else that is going into a certain market, to a certain city. I was just in Denver, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and invited about 12 of the business owners there in that community to come together. And we had just shared a dinner right there at Union Station. And it was fantastic. I think to date, we've done 15 or so of these, and there's gatherings in New York, LA, London, Melbourne, and San Francisco, and now Denver. And those are great opportunities to connect with your peers in a very intimate environment where people get, very transparent and very open about the challenges they're facing, and you find a lot of commonality. And of course, as industry leaders, it's a great opportunity for people to get together and hear what everyone else is processing.
Which is why we do invitation only. It's to be intimate. It is a small group. So we don't make an invitation only, meaning to exclude anyone. It's really the idea of bringing together a collective group of people in a certain season that they have a common commonality to them. So we believe the conversation will directly affect those. And really the ability we have to scale is just to do more and more of those dinners, which, Joel, you and I would just totally hate more dinners with creative entrepreneurs. Man.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I have to go to New York again. I have to go to LA again.
Oh, man. For a good meal, this is torturing us. So this time we have together.
Yeah, maybe say we don't have these events at Applebee's. So
the next one is Confab. Confab is this weekly mastermind of business owners. And all the owners there are, again, in a certain season, emerging creative firms. And that is a very topical based conversation. So there's a mastermind. Joel hosts it. It has speakers. We bring up topics. And then the small group there is processing them out loud, doing breakout groups, maybe doing homework. Most of the people in Confab right now came from the accelerators, but not all of them. But we think there's a specific need that we think the mastermind group is perfect for. So that mastermind opportunity for us using a Confab platform is really awesome.
Yeah, and that weekly rhythm is really nice. It's just this quick hour, everyone gets together and we process, just yesterday, our issue was HR, like hiring and recruiting and firing and managing and all that. So yeah, you can just imagine how active that conversation is. So over in the accelerators category, Tim, I'm going to.
Oh, Joel, before you jump real quick, just.
Oh, sure.
Because after hearing us say that, that is not invitation only, right? If you are interested in joining Confab, you could reach out to one of us. We'll do some discernment to figure out what the right fit is, and you can join it. And Confab specifically is a membership-based. All three of those are somewhat, but it's a membership-based application, and there's a fee to do Confab, opposed to the other two, which is really just open to the community.
Yep. So under accelerators, you can see here we have Jumpstart, ShowLauncher, and a producer bootcamp. Jumpstart, for those of you that don't know what that is a 8-week transformation. It is a drinking from a fire hose. In 8 weeks, I take a small group of owners and I'm giving them 8 concepts to try and push them to the next level in their businesses. And I like to tell people it's really where this journey from being an order taker to being a leading studio starts. It's that mind shift from all the things that kind of got you to where you are now are no longer serving you, and let's embrace the concepts at the next level. And I'm just kicked off one last week. I've got about 12 owners going through this 8-week journey. So if you hear screaming and gnashing of teeth, it's because everyone is drinking from that proverbial fire hose as we speak. All right, Tim, what's ShowLauncher?
Yeah, ShowLauncher is so much fun. It's kind of a unique offering for RevThink, but it fits really, truly in the wheelhouse, although it sounds a little bit different. ShowLauncher specifically is to teach people how to successfully create ideas that sell. So if someone is developing IP that they want to own in the future, opposed to being a service-based IP, this is a perfect match for you, ShowLauncher. It really came from a lot of our clients asking how to do that and where to do that. And so I personally got involved with NAPI, an organization. I did a lot of education of myself in that platform, and then worked with others, and specifically Patrick Jager originally, and developed this ShowLauncher platform. It is a very short accelerator. It's about 4 weeks in total. We often do it every other week, so it lasts a couple of months. And in that, we start with an idea, and by the time we get done, we end up with a pitch deck. And then sometimes, hopefully this year also, we'll do a pitch day where you take the output of your pitch deck, or anyone's invited, but a pitch day where you can take your pitch deck and put that in front of professionals in the space and actually pitch your show idea to 3 or 4 people in that space. You'll get feedback on the pitch day and within the pitch day process. But in the past, we've actually connected people with networks or production companies to get some of their IP developed. So it's an exciting thing. And it's just one of those itches that people want to scratch. So we've developed that for you.
Well, I like your tagline so much. I'm going to read it since you forgot. Don't sell TV, develop TV that sells. So that's a nice one. Producer Bootcamp. Tim, this is one we've had so many requests for going back a couple of years, and we're excited to finally announce it. We have a tentative date happening at the end of October, so stay tuned. For the Producer Bootcamp is going to be a 2-day, we think, workshop teaching you what is it that great producers do, and how do you make a producer. And Tim, this is going to be super fun because there's a certain mystery, I think, to what makes a great producer that a lot of owners like, I got to get me one of those. And I think we're going to get out there and start finally scratching that itch.
Yeah, and to not be dependent on a market that brought up a producer that you just buy from somebody else and hope to have the skills. As a creative entrepreneur, going back to that 7 ingredients, those 7 ingredients are things you want to master. So when you get into the production space and understand the jobs and responsibilities of a producer, you'll be, if you went through a producer bootcamp as a business owner, you would understand who to hire, what you're expecting from them, and possibly how to train them, which is creating your own producer out of it. So it would give people a creative edge or a production edge over the whole creative process if they understood and could master that.
Well, there's so much demand for producers right now. So we hope to satisfy that and make it easier. Okay, for under engagements, this is where creative firms that are actively growing and they want to engage RevThink as a consultancy, and these engagements are private and they're direct. So it's not a group format. This is you working with somebody from RevThink or our team directly. But Tim, do you want to start and give people an overview? What is CreOS?
Yeah, CreOS stands for the Creative Firm Operating System. And the thought here is all of our one-on-one engagements, we would put into place the production roll-up, cash flow, accounts receivable sheets, and then we have routines that match them. So we realized that it was so easy for us to discern and grow a business by having these in place. We've offered this as a totally separate offering and engagement. And this engagement specifically is for us to work with you and build out a CreOS system for you using templates we already have, or we can custom build it if necessary. We can plug that into Harvest if people have Harvest to track their expenses. And then to manage those routines for you, to show you how those routines work, how to read the tea leaves that are coming through, and even be part of our pipeline where we give you quarterly reports and annual reports to review and keep you focused on things that fit within that factors method and decision-making as a business owner. So it's a really great starter engagement for creative firms who are beginning to realize that part of their business is starting to grow and they haven't yet mastered it and they just want a little booster up. We can give you the starting kit to get that started.
Yeah, there's a light version of some of those tools, and then the more advanced subscription that is CreOS proper. But it's actually a great preview to the one-on-one, because the one-on-one, of course, is simply engaging myself or Tim or Jason or one of our other consultants in a one-on-one engagement. It's me coming alongside an owner, helping him or her set goals, process decisions, be that in that triage mode in the 11th hour when something goes wrong, all those things. But Tim, to your point about CreOS, what I love is if I'm engaged with a business owner, we have these weekly routines. We can read the production roll-up and see all of the jobs. We can read the cash board and see everything that's coming at us. So those two really go together nicely.
Yeah, right, very much.
Your go.
Management. Management is engagement that is for very specific companies that are looking to leverage all of our expertise in the management process there. The joke used to be you can call that I was being called a CEO, a COO, and a CFO when I was doing this management role for businesses. Jason does this alongside of me. Joel, you do this with some of your clients. And it's really an ongoing, continual basis where we are part of that strategic element within your firm. So if often through transition, people call us for this or looking for specific outcomes, or sometimes even in a build out or business plan. But we're part of that big build and growth there. Some of my clients in the management category have been with me for 10 years. So you can see that's a very long run, long form engagement. And it's very exciting. That growth that we often talk about within RevThink, these are the firms that we've experienced that growth with. And when the time is right, this is one of the best engagements you can have from us.
Yeah, it's kind of like your team and our team making it happen. Tim, I'm going to let you talk about fourth stage because that's sort of your bailiwick.
Yeah, I think of the fourth stage is really mergers, acquisitions, and investments. It's really a very different way of thinking of your company and what it means to be a business owner, how that business could thrive, and what that means to you as an asset. So there's a structural process that we have to go through and a transformational process we have to go through from this beginner stage of being a creative entrepreneur and really diving into it, treating it like it's your child, having it grow up, nursing it to health, and then what the outcome of the merger, acquisition, and investment proposition is. But we've been talking for the last few weeks. We all know that our career has an arc, just like our business has an arc. And what we want to do is have built something that goes beyond our own effort and influence. And by including others, we can hire them into it and grow the bottom foundation of our business. Or there's opportunities to engage in the community with other investors, with other companies, and have a larger strategy plan. So that fourth stage engagement are really asking the bigger questions and planning for that. I don't want to say it's only an exit plan, because there are companies that we're definitely not exiting. We're reinvesting back in and growing the companies that own those companies differently. Sometimes it's an exit strategy, and sometimes it's premeditating an exit early enough that you're growing your asset to the right ability and knowing what your strategy is and looking for those opportunities as the industry brings it to us. So it's very exciting, big picture, kind of moonshot stuff, long-term strategy. But it really is some of the most exciting stuff we have going on today with the moving and shaking within the industry. There's some huge repositioning that people could take advantage of.
Well, we have a few owners that are saying, well, I don't want to exit, but maybe somebody else does. Can I acquire them? Right? That's an interesting opportunity.
Yeah, or I don't want to sell my business, but maybe if an investor came in, I could take advantage of opportunities that keep coming across my doorstep, and I just can't do it all. But if I had someone complimenting me, we can get it done. So it's it's tying some puzzle pieces together to make that happen. And then there's a practical reality. There's a lot of work in between the idea and the dream to the actual execution and getting some of that foundation in place. But if you're working within the RevThink system and you have your systems and routines in place to engage any other business in any other form and to know what the requirements are, you are 3/4 of the way there by just having that momentum going into it.
Well, it's almost like we planned this to be 27 minutes. Good job. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in for this so we could walk through. And it was kind of fun, actually, because the question that people were asking us of like, well, how do I find out more? And what else are you doing? And what's that other thing I heard about? To be able to, kind of force us to get our thinking clear and put it all in one place was actually a good exercise. So I think this will be some good material we can reference back to in the future. Obviously, if you have,
I also want,
go ahead, Tim.
I was also going to say, I also just want to present a picture that there isn't anything you can't talk to us about. We don't necessarily know all the answers, but there's a lot that you're processing and you don't know where to turn. So to give you this kind of scale and scope of different possibilities and engagement is one front, but the other is to say, hey, I think I'm thinking something differently and I don't know where to start, to just know that there are kind of some things we have in place that might begin you on that journey in a better condition, just to give you permission to call us, ask those questions and see what we know to make your dreams come true.
Yeah, and I'll also say this, we are super happy to tell you when we're not a good fit and say, hey, here's a better resource for you. Here's another person out there that's an expert in that particular problem. So if we're not a fit, we're certainly happy to connect you with the people that are. So anything to help you keep moving forward.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, we do say we exist so you can thrive in business, life, and career. So I think we're trying to go to work every day, making sure that's true.
Yeah. Well, I think we should adjourn because if we open it up to questions, we'll go over our 30-minute allotment. But let me do this. I will make sure that when this gets posted in replays, Tim, we should put a link for each of those things. So if somebody says, oh, I would love to know more, it'll just be right there and you can click on Confab or ShowLauncher or whatever that thing is, and you can go check it out for yourself, and then you can ask us more questions.
Yep.
All right,
thanks for pulling us together, Joel.
Yeah, thanks for
presentation styles. We couldn't do it without your keynote, Joel.
I know. Well, it's like, unfortunately, I think I had to master keynote somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
Well, look, Eric, Kate, Stephen, Dominic, Rich, you guys are welcome. Love you all. And we definitely are here to help thrive. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And we will see you next week for another briefing. Tim, we don't know what it's about, but between now and Monday, we're going to figure it out.
We'll have it figured out.
That's right.
Since you guys have a great weekend.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.